That's just our alert. Well, welcome everybody to the first monthly Tech Talk. I don't know how many people will show up. I don't know how many questions we'll have, but I just wanted to set these up so that everybody felt like they had some access to somebody who might be able to either answer their questions or help them answer questions. Because I was seeing online a lot of people posting things like, hey, I sent in a help request 2 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything back. And I figured, hey, I might have the skills to at least be able to answer some of them or know people who could answer the other ones. So thus the concept of the monthly Tech Talk was kind of born. Again, the purpose of this meeting isn't to be a training. It isn't to replace a training that you would do at the multiple or the district level. The purpose of this is for us to have a place to go and talk about technology things that are impacting our clubs. So if it is something that is in the portal, for example, I can open up the portal and I can show you if I happen to know you. So there will be that element of training, maybe answering questions, but it's not going to be like comprehensive, like let's walk through what the secretary does. And there's not going to be an agenda from time to time either. It's going to be based on whatever the organic conversation happens to be in the setting with the people who attend. So if we have a lot of people attending, maybe there'll be more conversation. If we don't have very many, we might be rather limited in the conversation. So with that being said, welcome everybody. And who has a question? I mean, what do we want to talk about first?
Well, I tell you what I tried to do today, of which there probably isn't an answer, is to find, I thought I had seen once on one of the reports, a member and if they had given to LCIF.
Yes.
Where is it?
You can see that. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop and we'll open the portal and I'll walk you through kind of where we can find that kind of information. And I'm just going to move all your faces over to the other side here so that I can see who's on the camera. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log into the portal here. And once we're in the portal, this is where the, what's the word I want to say? The powers that be, in the way that they built these tiles, they haven't built a tile that's for your district. So like if you go into My CA, it brings you to multiple district level things. So in order to find our district, we have to type in up here 5M space and then our district. And you're 6, right, Cheryl?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit 5M6. And you'll see that the first item on the top of the list here is your district. So we're going to click on the district here. That's going to bring us onto your district page. This page is going to look very similar to your multiple district page or your clubs page. The difference being obviously that it's information about your district. Here is where you would come to do your data extract. So if you wanted to pull a report or export emails from all your presidents and secretaries in all of your clubs, you'd come here and use this data export. If you wanted to see district activities at just a district level, you can use this here. If you wanted to look at statements to see if, hey, did our treasurer remember to pay for some club supplies that the district got, you can check that here. But what we're going to walk through here is going to be this view reports over here on these blue buttons. We click on this blue reports and we select from the drop down here, the reports that are listed here are going to be very similar, if not exactly the same as what we had in My LCI and My Lion before. So if you remember, if you went in at the district level page under My District in the old My LCI, there was a list of a bunch of different reports that you could do when you selected from the drop-down reports. These are largely going to be the same. And the one that's the most beneficial for you is going to be this one called Status of Installments down at the bottom.
Oh.
And if we click on the status of installments, and I'm just going to say up until now, so up until September of 2024, show us what the report is. And now a little caveat for this report is this will show you who has an outstanding balance towards a Melvin Jones Fellowship. So if you had somebody who donated, let's say they donated $1,000 and they submitted the paperwork and were awarded their fellowship, they wouldn't show on this report because they would have a balance of 0. But the vast majority of people who are just making a donation and don't even realize how to request that Melvin Jones Fellowship, they're going to still be on here. And we'll see how long it takes the report to run. I use this report all the time for my club as the secretary to find out what our value is in undesignated money so that we know how many Melvin Jones Fellowships we can award each year. And that way I don't have to ask the LCIF chairperson. I can just pull this report myself. Now, it could be that this will error out. And if it does, what I'll do is I'll switch back to my district, because it could be that while I had access to try and run it, being the technology person for the multiple, it's going to show us. So what club were you looking for?
Actually, I was looking for Egan.
So what I'm going to do here is I'll just show you one other thing before we do that. The one drawback that I've noticed in the portal is this preview window. While it's usable, there is no ability to grab the corners and make this bigger and drag it, so it's the same size. So I'm going to actually download this and then open my download here into my PDF viewer so that we can see it a little bit better. And I'll even do this, close these things. So you're looking for Egan?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the people that have undesignated balances right now, which means, like, for example, Justin Herzog here and Mark Anthony Ross and Stephen Kreitz and Thomas Gintler have all donated 20, 20, 50, and 20.
Okay.
So again, it's not 100% guaranteed that that means they haven't donated, but they would have to have donated and then given themselves or somebody else a Melvin Jones Fellow. So for example, if you look up here at Cottage Grove, Barbara Wilsick can actually designate 4 Melvin Jones Fellowships to people because she has $4,280 in unused credits.
So you probably can't answer this, but she's left.
She's left?
Yeah.
As in she doesn't go to Cottage, she's not in Cottage Grove anymore?
As in she's not a lion anymore.
Oh.
That's another issue.
I just think that they can't claim those funds then. I think that's, you know.
Oh, I would think you would still be able to, because for example, you can use those funds to give the fellowship to a non-lion. So why wouldn't a non-lion who has donated be able to? I mean, I've never tried that, but that would definitely be something I would ask LCIF.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, I have a question I have is doing service reporting and stuff like that, putting something together. And I found the service reporting that people served, but I can't find volunteer hours and funds raised and funds donated, you know.
So you're looking for those metrics, or you're looking at individual items?
I'm looking for the metrics.
Okay. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. So do you have a specific club that you're looking for? Jackson, is it?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking for 5M3, everything in 5M3.
Okay. Well, let's do this then. Let's dig through 5M3 a little bit. So here's District 5M3's page, and I searched 5M3 to find that. Now, if I look here under service activities, and I'm just going to click View All to expand this. In this view, you can't see a lot of details, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I expect. So there's a couple of things that we can do to look for that. One of the things that we can do is we can go up and look through things through our Insights dashboard. So if we go to the insights, and we'll wait for it to, and then we're going to go to service activities as the second tab over here. And down here in the bottom corner, I'm going to select 5M3 and search for that district. And one of the things too that is somewhat of a drawback, if you see this focus mode, you can kind of pop things in and out a little bit better. But you can't really. Oh, there we go. I'm just going to focus on the bottom part and not the other. So here, if we go click a couple of times, 5M3 here, we can see that 34% of your clubs are reporting.
Yep.
This is the number of counts. The number of overall people served is this.
Yep.
In the previous year was this number. Your total hours so far are 1785.
Okay.
And you
That's
can kind of scroll to the right here. The other metrics will also be available, but these are kind of pushed to the side because there are a lot of the things that maybe people wouldn't very often look for. Like this here is counting like how many of them were disaster relief, how many of them were entered as environment and as the different things that you can do. Those first few are really the ones that most people are going to look for. But if I actually click this again, when I'm in my insights, it actually will break all of those down by every club that's in the district as well. So for example, you can easily see here the ones that say 100 and the ones that say 0, which clubs have done service reporting and which haven't.
That shows.
Now, go ahead.
That shows up on the big page too, then, right?
Yeah, that's part of what's making up this 34%. However, a keen eye will notice that some things don't look quite right. So for example, here can be, how do they have 3,782 people served if they haven't reported any service yet? So it could be that there's a little checkbox somewhere that's off, or it could be that there's a carryover from the years from one to the other, and that it's just not adding up quite right. The other place where you can look for some of this kind of stuff. So see, if I even click on this, I'm going to come back here to Canby. If I click on that, you see it changes this view for me. So these numbers here actually must have been from the previous year. See the overall people served in the previous year. So this year is 0. Last year was 3,782. That's why we're seeing that number and why this one is still 0.
Okay. So can you go back to the beginning, how you got here?
Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back either the home or hit the portal button. So to get there, I went to this reports and insights, and I selected the first item, which was the insights dashboard. And once I get to this insights dashboard, which is really reporting tool of the data in the database to produce these dashboard style metric reports. You have the ability to look for membership, for service activities, for donation, and for club information. And I clicked service activities.
So I'd find out a lot there.
Yep. And then under district, I searched for 5M3 so that I didn't see this right now is showing the whole world.
Okay.
And you can also change this. So I searched for it based on activity count. You can search for it based on people served and by volunteer hours, and it'll change what's graphed up above, but the data kind of left to right down here is still the same data. It's just using that data to show a different graph when I click this button here.
Then how do you find the individual clubs on here then?
Yep, so then in here you type in 5M3 again until you see the checkbox.
Yeah.
And once I select that in this little window towards the bottom, if I expand it, it shows that you're in 5M, and then it shows your district. And then if I expand it one more time, the district explodes out to list the clubs in your district.
Okay. It's there, you just got to find it.
Yep. The other thing that we can possibly look for is if we go back to 5M3, it is possible that in the district level reports that we might have a service report. Just trying to look through these. Not seeing anything that sticks out there as being a service report.
It's probably the only stuff that's out in there, you know.
Let me just try one other thing that we can do from this level. I'm gonna see if I can I can't from this one, darn it.
So can you change where our activity level is? It says district. What does that give you? Oh, no.
So in this view, because of the way we got to it, it only allows us to prioritize these like alphabetically. It doesn't allow us to change most of these. That's actually what I was looking for. So in here, if I click on the filter, there are certain things that I can change and unchange. But because when we went into this, we went into it through this district level service activity. It already had filters in place showing us only stuff for the district. And we couldn't kind of go backwards further to actually get something else. So I'm gonna take us on a different journey. And here's where the other report is that I was hoping was going to be here. So if we click on our data export, you'll see club member details, officer details, district officer details, member details, club service information, and district service information. So if we click on this one, we're going to, you notice we kind of branched out and we actually went to someplace a little bit different in the website. And this is a more open formatted report. And when you are in this report, we can actually click on the edit button here. And once we're in the edit button, not only can we change down here the columns that are displayed in the report from left to right, and unfortunately, I kind of have to scroll down here to grab this guy here. You can see that there's a lot of columns going left to right. But we can also put into place additional filters to block what we want to see or don't want to see on here. So for example, I'm just going to add a filter, and you see here how it says sponsor account name is the name of the club. I'm just going to go into here and I'm going to find sponsor account name. We're going to add it to the bottom down here. And we're going to say equals. And I'm just going to type in Fairmont because I can see that that's one right here. If it'll let me type. Come on.
Right.
It's a little bit behind where I was, apparently. And let me try to purposely spell it or the cases. I don't know if that'll matter or not. I'm going to hit apply. And you'll notice it didn't really do anything because I have to push this refresh button up here. And you'll see that it's only showing Fairmont now. But one of the things I will warn you about is this preview will only preview so much data. And sometimes there's a lot more behind the scenes. So after you do the little preview to see if it looks right, you always want to hit this little run button. And when you hit that run button, this is the actual report. So it's telling us that it found 3 records for Fairmont, and this is what they are, and this is the description that was in them. And again, if we scroll left to right, we will see all of those other options that are when we report service that we can enter, like the total people served, the total volunteer hours. So David, we could also run this report in order to get these metrics of the data in a kind of a flat file format. And then once you get what you want, there's a couple of different things that you can do. You can either do this save as, which doesn't always work because this is to actually save the report and not print it. And what I found is you don't always have access to the right folders to save it. So what I always click is this export. And a couple of things I'll walk you through here. If you use this default formatted button, and I'm just going to do it so you see what it looks like, it is going to create in Excel a file that looks like a PDF. And you'll notice like stuff isn't in all one column or, you know, one row with multiple columns. It's looking like it did in that report. However, if we do the same thing and out of the export, we click on this details only and we switch the format to the newest version of Excel, which is this Excel SX, you'll notice that it changes the options. And if we export it like this, we will actually get it in that one row with multiple columns like we're used to seeing. And then once I'm in here, I can move columns, I can delete columns, I can do whatever kind of filtering, you know, that I want to do in Excel. I can come in here, you know, and I can put in my filter that now allows me to, you know, do different fields alphabetically or manipulate it however I want. And the other thing that's a little bit interesting, if you're kind of a techie geek, kind of like I am, I'm just going to go back to the edit here again. At the top here, this outline, it's actually showing us the different rows and information in the database that's actually being linked to try to pull this report. So there is the possibility of you actually looking for different groups and columns to really try to build your own kind of report if you wanted to. The drawback being that it's kind of a one-time use because that save as doesn't always quite work right. Early on in the portal, I was able to save a few things myself, but I haven't been real successful with that since. So I think as they've added more reports and more features, they've maybe cut back on some of the back end things, or they've limited it for now with the intent of rolling it forward. So just to kind of recap that, I'm going to go back again to our district, and I'm just going to keep playing with 5M3 because that's where we were. And I'm going to go to the data export. I'm just going to show you real quick, kind of probably the biggest use case here. So all the time we have the need for member contact information and for club officer reporting, right? Because we have people like our zone chairs that might need the email addresses of the presidents and secretaries in all of our clubs, right? So you can get that information here. If you needed everybody in your entire district's email address to extract, to put into a newsletter distribution email thing, kind of like MailChimp or one of those, you would do that in this member contact. So I'm just going to play around here real quick and show you how you would be able to export that data into a usable format. So again, we're in 5M3. This is the club officer, and if you kind of start to scroll, you'll notice that the secretary, president, first vice president, treasurer are all there. I will warn you that the way this report works, if it is a local level officer, like if you typed in local and then director or local tail twister, those folks will not show up on this report. It's only those ones that have this official title. But again, if I really wanted to, I could manipulate this report in order to find that other stuff, but that's just not what they think that you wanted. So that's not what they bring you to initially. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to apply a filter. And I'm going to say add filter, either click there or click here. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I want this add filter. And I want to select official officer title or official title. I can either start typing like this, or I can start scrolling down, and I usually get impatient, so I start to type. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say club president, comma, club secretary, because I only am interested in the presidents and secretaries. You'll notice that the syntax has to match exactly what's in this title. So I have to type in club president because I'm saying it equals. If I want it to just contain the word president, I can also select contains, and then the syntax isn't quite as important. So now I got to go back to here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to add my filter. See, I had myself pointing and it took it away. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And see, it's not refreshing again. I got to hit the refresh button. Well, no records. But you see how it says, try running the report or editing filters. I'm just going to hit run because it could be that there's still too much information and that's why it's not displaying. And now it's telling me that it didn't work at all, which means that I messed up my syntax somehow, or the report isn't working the way I thought it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come down here and I'm going to change it to contains, because I got a feeling what's probably wrong is this comma is probably not the appropriate way to use a string of things. So that's probably interfering. So I'm going to go ahead and say just contains. And you can see already that that worked. The exact match, it was trying to it was probably trying to match that exact string. It wasn't trying to add things together. And now if I hit run, every club in 5M3 that had these two titles reported into the portal will be on this report. And I can come in and I can export this report and I can do details only in the updated Excel format. And it's going to give me this report that is going to give me the information that I need. So all of my email addresses, all of that stuff is here. Now, again, the format of this report, just because the way it was laid out, has the club or the account number way over here, right? So if I actually want to do this, if it'll let me, oh, I got to enable editing, Matt. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that up here. And now I can turn on my filters and I can say, I want you to filter alphabetically by club. And here you go. Now you have all of your clubs alphabetized and you can start. I mean, if you wanted to, you can hide, or delete all of this kind of stuff. And let's say I only care about email addresses, right? I can keep doing this until I get to the next couple here. And there we see that Gene Buys is the club president, can be, and here's his. You can also, because you remember all of these different fields are in here, you'll see that the parent zone is in here. I could actually go like this and say, only show me clubs in zone 1. And then I could send this either, go like this and cut and paste it into an email, or I could save it like this and send it to the zone 1 chair and say, here's your contact information for presidents and secretaries in your zone.
Man, I could have used you like 2 months ago.
I know.
Well,
I did a
to
lot
be
more work.
brutally honest, some of this functionality has only slowly trickled in. It wasn't all available like immediately afterwards. And remember when I said I was playing around with different reporting techniques in the background, and I was able to save things? I actually had created myself a linked table thing to get to that report if they didn't have something else that worked by the time people needed it. So, but yeah, it takes a little while to just kind of dig around in there and find what's available. And it's not always the same way it was before, but it's similar. And for those of you who maybe are district governors right now, I talked with you in March, right, in your district governor-elect training about the different ways that we did the different reports that were in my LCI, and see now all of those have started to trickle in. So a lot of that content is the same. It's just where you would go to execute it and how you would execute it that's changed. The reports themselves are giving you the same information. So what other questions? Now we covered a lot already, so.
Matt?
You're amazing, really. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
One thing that I've tried to do is the same thing as when they have a 5-year
Oh yeah.
grant for the district. So I would like to do that for, say, 3 years for a club.
All right, so we'll go back here. I'm just gonna try to click on something. So I'm just gonna go like here first. And I can't remember if this one's a toolbox or a toolkit. It is a toolbox. All right, so out on Lions International website, you search for the membership toolbox, right? And that what you're talking about is this 5-year trend report for membership, right?
Yes.
So if I go ahead and was to open this, it's going to take a little bit of time, and you'd go use the most recent year, and it's done every month. So if I click that and I scroll all the way down, because there's so many before 5, like a lot before 5, and I'll just pick on my own district right now. And you get the report that looks like this.
Oh, okay. But I was meant more for an individual club.
So for a club, so yeah, that's a great question, because that is something that they don't provide a report for. So if you wanted the same type of information for a club, there's probably a couple of different ways that we could look at to get that. None of which are maybe going to be very nice and clean. But let's go ahead and see if we can find a way to do it. Actually, you know what? I don't even have to do that. I can use my tiles to go to my club. And you are looking for member information, right?
Well, membership totals is what I
Okay.
was looking for. Yep.
Let's see what we have. So when you're in the club one of the things that's a little bit difficult to remember is you actually have 2 tabs of these blue buttons over here. You have the things about members, which is like adding members, removing members, viewing members, adding delegates, adding officers. And then under club actions is where you have all kinds of other things like printing membership cards, editing your club details, or this button here, the view club reports. And what we can look at is, let's look in here to see if there's anything that's even close. All right, and I don't see anything that's really going to be close. And just for comparison, if we come out here to the insights, right, and we came to membership, and we looked at 5M1, and we expand this guy all the way out, right? I'm going to scroll way down because S is way at the end of the alphabet. I can go like this and look at my club, but this is really only going to give me the information for 2 years, right? Like where it was last year and where it is this year.
Yes.
And that's the drawback, right? Is that I can't see further details than that. So really the trick is how we get to that level of information. I'm just showing this in a different view so that when we click on Stewartville here, for example, and we scroll down, that guy right there, you can see right now we're at 70, we're at 71 a year ago at this time. We've added 2 this year, we've lost 1. We're positive 1 so far this year, but we're still down 1 from where we were last year. So what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to tap into the data that's there. What I've been told in the past is that, well, you can email, I can't remember if it's membership at or whatever that membership like email address is that everybody sends their stuff to, and ask them for it. Or we can play around with these reports a little bit and see if we can find them ourselves, which is what, if you're willing to just play around with me, that's what we can try to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit my club again, and I'm going to go to this data export because this is the way I know I can get into certain levels of data. So I'm just going to click on one of these because I want to get, excuse me, into here where I can edit things. And I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. So one of the things that I've noticed when I was in here before, and again, this probably isn't gonna give us all of the information we want, because this isn't really giving us counts, right? It's giving us membership names and contact. But you see this little guy right here next to this word report. If you check this, this is where I started playing around before. You see there's report and there's a joined report. If you start playing around with some of these different things, I was able to find different places. Like, for example, if I switch this field, I could find other things that were available.
Hmm.
So let's see. So let's. I'm just looking for club to see what we have for availability, and I don't see that. So what happens if we look for member? Active member count. Sounds like something I might be interested in. I don't know where that just added it. Oh, way down at the bottom. So here, I'm just gonna. Delete a bunch of these things. I just want to see what that button actually is showing me. And there's so many other things like in the way here that. So it's showing my club active member count over here. You see that?
Yeah,
All right, so now,
and that would be for the current year.
yeah, that's the current member count. The only field they give us is current active member count.
But there was another category there that said member that I thought, I wonder if that would work. No, I'm not seeing. Hmm.
But see, there's a lot of new stuff in here, right? If I add that, average member age if in my club here is 64.9. I mean, that's nice to know, right?
Yeah.
But again, just because we can't find it doesn't mean, I mean, I'm sure that the data is there, right? But I don't see any logical
I
place.
would think so. When you look at service reports and they have it back to, say, 2021, where they've listed everything,
Right, and if we actually
that
went
they'd be able
into,
to pull that.
yeah, let me just go back to the club here.
You know what? And I'm sorry, I don't want to take up everybody's time if they have other questions other than mine.
See if we went here and we looked at our club reports again, I think you're gonna find the same thing, right? So if I came, for example, like club reporting history, that's not a good example. I want one that's gonna show me the here we go. See, this one's gonna ask for a year, right? So I could say for this 2021 and July. And if I hit submit, it's going to be able to pull me up the membership report that was submitted then. One of the things that will change is we don't do the monthly membership report, so it's not going to be there anymore. But you can see here when I pulled this July one, I can see that we had 59 members at that time.
So you would have to gather the information and create your own graph.
Using this report, but because that information is there, there's got to be a way that you could just pull the report, or build a report that says, show me July 1st of 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and what that number was. No, it wouldn't show you necessarily where you are immediately, but we could always add that other one at the end, right?
Mhm.
It's just a matter of we need to find how we would access that information. So let's play a little bit more with this guy and see if this membership reports button here gives us any ability to do that. So again, here was that 5-year trend report. I don't think any of these are going to work because these are the ones from that toolbox.
Right.
Because if I click on like this, it's just going to show me that.
Mhm.
All right, there's a couple of other places. So, I'm a button pusher. So I gotta just find where it was that I backdoored into something before.
Problem is I never remember how I got there once I want to go back. It's like, how did I
Well,
do?
and I've even saved a place so that I know I can get there if I need to. I saved the link on one of these. Because on one of these reports, and actually I think it's on this primary insights one. Boy, there was one of them where down in the bottom corner somewhere, it basically said like, kind of like click here for more details. So I'm actually just going to bridge to it. If I can find it still now. See if it still works. So you see this, all reports. And in here, see this created by me? Nothing, but there's these folders, and I was actually able to build one at one point in time and save it to a folder that was called like mats. You know. Oh, that's probably the data export one. So, but again, see, this is just a list of all the reports that LCI has available out here. Some of these are in different fields, so let's see.
But now when you save those, that's like at that time, it's not being automatically updated.
No, yeah, and see, I'm not even finding mine out here
Okay.
anymore. So I got a feeling that they've updated things and moved some of these things. So let me do this. Let's go back. I'm gonna go to my club again. And I'm gonna go to this data export because I know this brings me to the reporting tool, right? So let's just see what happens if we click edit and then we click new, because there was this one doesn't have the new. One of them that we were looking at earlier had the option for new up there. Well, that's not going to help. Because see if this is how I got there before. Because if you hit like select the report, you can start adding different things. And when I went to all, see.
Wow.
What happens if I click that? Sure, let's do that and see what happens. I may just explode the whole system too, by trying to add too much stuff. Come on, where's that arrow? Why
So
won't it?
Matt, is your feeling that, I mean, I think this is much more robust than what we had before. It's just
Oh
a
yes,
matter of
it's
learning how to use it.
right. Well, and some of the stuff behind the scenes, there's never an intent for those of us to necessarily learn how to use it. You know what I mean? But it's available for people. What I was just getting into is kind of more something that, like, at work, we have professional report writers that understand how databases are structured in order to generate, the linkage of the tables to get reports. Now that we've moved my LCI and my Lion into a singular kind of data location, all of this information is now available to do some of those advanced techniques on in a much more consumable format. So before, they would have to piece things from multiple different databases, depending on how old it was and stuff, together to try to give you some kind of report. That's also why we see that not all of the functionality of my Lion was there right away. for like service reporting. I just saw something today that said you can finally now copy an entry so that you don't have to start from scratch again. And that was something that everybody who was a secretary or an administrator used that all the time in my Lion, because I didn't want to have to enter the same thing every month. I just copied it, changed the date, changed the number that was there, and hit save. They just added 2 weeks ago the ability to add pictures, which we had all along in my Lion, but hadn't. So as things settle down from the original transfer over and they're learning more, now they're rolling out additional functionality to everybody. But so for a report like what you were looking for, Cheryl, I'd probably reach out to member services and on that email and just say, hey, with the new, portal structure, is there a way that you can get a nice report with this data? My district would be very eager to use this. And they might say, wow, that's a great idea. We'll make it so that all clubs have that in their report listing.
Actually, I've only called them once, but they answered right away and were very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's probably who I'd ask.
Okay.
It looks like even there's plain in there, the stuff I used to be able to do the first couple of months, I can't do as much of it anymore. So they must have saw the one that said Matt's test report or something in there and figured that they probably needed to do something else.
So Matt, you got time to run through?
Yeah,
how
we still got another 15 minutes or so of the session, so.
Okay. How we gotta go over the report and insights, is that correct?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for. What are you looking
I wanna do volunteer funds donated and funds raised.
Okay, so that would be in the insights again,
Okay,
or in one of those other ones. So you want to see funds raised
yeah.
in a specific club or just across your district?
5 and 3. Just
Yeah.
go to they call it the dashboard over here.
Yep. So right now, if I go like this, you'll notice that even though it says it's part of these other three, the number was actually the same. I didn't have to explode that out. And if I scroll over, is the funds raised one of the fields? It is not. And I'll tell you probably my guess as to why it's not.
Well, we've
Because
seen it before tonight, didn't we?
no, we saw the people served. So, the majority of what we want is oh, that's funny. It tells you what you can have, but I didn't see funds on here, did you?
I thought I did. It was a different one though, I think. It started from the top.
Because funds are typically a metric in a fundraiser, not in a service activity, the way that they have them built.
Okay.
So let's do it like this. I don't want 13, Matt, I want 3. And let's go to this club. You want district level service information?
Yep. Well, yeah, each
Well, let's
club,
just see
but,
what this shows.
Do you want to quit this?
I don't understand it at all.
That's only showing the district level. We don't want that. We want the club level, but across the entire
yeah.
district. So on this one, for example, one of the fields over here is probably going to be funds donated.
Why not?
Volunteer hours are here too.
Yep. So here's what I would do. I would pull this service information report. So again, to get there, I went to my district. I searched for 5M3.
Yeah.
I clicked on data export and I clicked on club level service activities. And it brought me to this report.
And the name of the report is service activity information or?
Yes. So then what I'm going to click here is I'm going to click export this report. Details only, throw it into Excel. And it's obviously a bigger report. And what I can do here is I'm just gonna hide these. So you can see here, total funds donated.
Yeah, right. You got everything right there.
Right, so I can come down to the bottom of this, wherever the bottom is. Wow, this is a lot of data in this report. You can come to the bottom, or what I would suggest is probably more accurate or more user friendly is insert a row at the top here. And we'll find that column again and we'll say, oh, did I pass it? Yeah, there it was right here. Equals sum of and there's easier ways to use hotkeys to get to the bottom, I'm sure. But so now if I go all the way back to the top, that's your number. $503,879.
Oh,
Yeah. There it is.
So $500,000.
Yep.
Now I'm not sure why there's ones that says, I suppose because this one just has USD in front of it, this one doesn't. So I would expect if I go like this, copy and paste here, that it gives me the same number. So that's just using this column. It just doesn't have the word USD. Now that is total funds raised. Over here is the total funds donated. So if we did the exact same thing and come over here, you'll see that you actually only donated 386,177.
That's
So
the
again, with
finance.
all of this stuff, you kind of have to dig a little bit, right, to be able to find it. But you can certainly get to a lot of that information.
Okay.
Other questions? How about Dean, you have any questions on there or?
Well, I thought you would do a little bit of what's the best way to enter and put in the new data for service activities and for volunteer services.
Sure, I can cover that real quick. So service activities only work one way in the system. So when you log in and you're on this home page, you have to click this guy in the middle that says service and then my activities, because that's the only way that you get this big blue button here that says create a service activity. And what's going to happen right now is it's loading my club's information down here. And you can see that since I finished being our club secretary at the end of the year, nobody else has entered anything, but we'll have to get on Brian Ken about that. But if we click this create service activity, this is how you do that. So because I'm an officer at the district and multiple level, it would allow me to report service for those as well, but I'm going to select my club down here, Stewartville Morning. And if you don't see this and you see something that looks like this, like you're supposed to just search, you just need to click this button that says select from my area. That didn't used to be the default, but I can see in here that they've changed that. So that is the default now. And then you would type in the name of your activity and you would select, is this a donation, a fundraiser, a meeting, or a service project? And then it will bring you to a page similar to what we know and love, which looks an awful lot like it did in My Lion, where we would then come in here and we'd say, we did this project yesterday, and it was a one-day project, and we served 156 people, and we had 21 volunteers, and we had non-Lion family members that participated, and we did a total of, 32 hours of service. And if I wanted to have these additional things, right, I can say I raised $500 and I donated 150. And it wasn't part of LCIF, and this donated, or the donation was big brothers and sisters or whatever, it was. Not all of these things are required, so I'm going to skip putting the date and time of the location and stuff. And I'm going to finish over here and say that this was a other humanitarian service and it was a community event. Now, if I hit save, it's going to come back and tell me that this is ready to report because I didn't check this box here that says report completed. So in order to do that now, I would have to hit edit and check this report completed box and then hit save. And you now see the status says reported. You can do that while you're reporting it, by the way. You don't have to do it in 2 steps, but that's why it didn't do that. And if I were to go back now to my club and click on our service activities tab here, I should see that activity in here, and it didn't refresh the way that I wanted it to. So let's go back in this way and see if it's on the top here. It might be, it's just taking too long to find it again.
But did you say now that we could copy?
Yeah, so see, it's here at the top now, my test.
Okay, so now if we do this same activity next month or 2 months from now,
Yeah.
we can now copy it. Is that right?
Yep, so see up here by edit, you now have copy. So I can
Okay.
click this and say copy. And what it did is if you scroll down here, see it copied everything, but it blanked out my date. So I
Okay,
can go in here and let's say that I forgot to do one from a week ago and it's something we do every week. Now I change the date there and let's say I wanted exactly the same metrics. I could hit that button like that and hit save. And now if I go back to my activities, it should have 2 with a different date. One is the 15th and one is the 8th. So you see there's 2 of them now, the 15th and the 8th, both called test that I reported.
good, okay.
Similarly, you can add pictures too now. So if you wanted to add a picture to this one, let's see if it'll let me after the fact. It won't let me there. Let me see if it lets me upload. It might still, even though I'm not in edit mode. So I'm going to come out here and let's say the picture I'm going to upload is our MD5M logo. You see now here it says ready to upload one. I'm going to hit upload now. And then if I go to my image preview, you now see the picture that you had associated with this event. And in the gallery, you'll see the multitude of pictures. And you can come into the gallery here and view the images, or you can click on the little trash thing here to delete that from it. And now it's not on there anymore. And I'm going to actually go on and just delete these references because my club didn't actually do these,
Yeah, okay,
But yeah, that's, the really
Okay.
fast, quick version how you would do service reporting.
yeah, now show the volunteer section.
Yep. So if I go back into the one that I did that when I went through. So I'm going to close that one because these are optional things down here. So when you select from that first questionnaire, when you first went to create it, it said, is this a meeting? Is this a donation? Is this a fundraiser? Or is this a service activity? And because I selected service activity, it automatically said the required things for me to fill in are the people served, the number of volunteers, and the hours.
Okay.
And then it
Okay.
gives you these options like, did you have non-Lions help or whatever like it used to.
Okay,
So it wouldn't have let me finish it without filling those in because they're required.
okay, good. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
good.
I just make sure I cleaned them all out. There we go. I don't know what these two are. These are older tests, apparently.
Well, thank you, Matt. That was helpful.
Yeah, I've got some other ones I need to get rid of out of here that were testing. Any other questions for anybody else? I think we have time for maybe another real quick one, but right at 8. But if not, thanks everybody for coming out to the first one. I don't know, how helpful it was, or if you didn't really.
Matt, you have been extremely helpful. Thank you very much. Really.
Yes.
And the goal is I'm going to have these same kind of open forums once a month on the third Monday of the month. And it's open to, I mean, we're sharing on Facebook, so realistically, people not from our multiple could attend. We'll see what happens. I know there's a lot of people that had shared things that weren't in our multiple, so it wouldn't shock me at all. And I think on our webinar series that we had last week that we started, there was a person or two that were on there that weren't from our multiple, so.
I think it was just a little confusing of when.
Which
Or-
was?
Confusing of when to get on.
Oh, yeah, it's at 7 o'clock. The really drawback about Zoom is that Zoom allows people to join the meeting if the meeting's not actually happening because of the way we have it set up. And we have it set up that way on purpose because I, as the technology coordinator or consultant, I don't want to have to come in and start every single meeting that every single person would ever have. So we have to leave it kind of open that anybody can start the meeting instead of having like the waiting room that has like a message that says, you know, this will start 5 days from now at 7 p.m. Please come back later. So that, you know, that's some drawbacks with the way technology works and the way that we choose to use it. So. But
No,
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Matt.
job, Matt.
yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Thanks,
Have
Matt.
a great evening.
Okay. Yes.